Hi. In this video, we're going to discuss the difference of COUNTIF, SUMIFs, COUNTIFs, okay, those functions. So for example here, in the first table, we want to find out the total entries per status. So we want to find out how many entries are pending, how many are complete, how many are on hold. Of course, you can do that manually by counting it yourself or using a filter to filter out the pending and then count it yourself. But that's going to be tedious, especially if you have a lot of values to count. So in that scenario, we can use the function COUNTIF. So COUNTIF and then open parentheses. And then we're going to select the range where we're going to do the counting, and that would be column G in this case, and then comma, and then we're going to have a criterion. What is the criterion? What is the value that we are looking for? So that would be the value that is dictated by cell I4 in this case. And actually, that's it. So we're counting here if the value of column G is as dictated in I4 pending, and close it because that's the end of the formula. Enter, and we get the answer. So there are 17 instances that the word pending showed up under column G. And if you doubt, okay, that one, we can apply some filter, okay, to our data and check it out ourselves. So to check if the answer is correct, we just have to filter here and select pending, for example, and then click OK. And you can see that we have 17 values here, okay, that we've highlighted. So that's it. So we got the correct, as long as you have to make sure that the spelling of the word is the same across your data, then you'll be fine. If one of them is misspelled, like if I have here pending and I forgot the letter G, then COUNTIF will count that out. It has to be exactly the same as that of cell I4. Now there are related functions to COUNTIF. We also have the function SUMIF. So for the SUMIF function, we do something similar. So here we want to sum the sales per representative. That means that it has to be column B that we're going to check if it contains this name 1. So column B must have, okay, the word 1, but we're not yet done. If we did COUNTIF, we're done at this point. The next is we have to identify the sum range. What is the column, okay, that contains the numbers that we will add, that we will sum? So this one would be column F. So column F contains the numbers. It's the sum range, okay, of our formula. And there you have it. We now have our SUMIF function. So it's almost the same as COUNTIF, except that we get the sum range at the end. Now, if there is a SUMIF function, we also have its counterpart, AVERAGEIF. So for example, in this table, you want to find the average sales per region. So instead of SUMIF, we just have to use AVERAGEIF. And then we have to do the same as what we did with SUMIF. The first is we identify the criteria. So column A must have the word Asia on it. So column A must have the value dictated by cell I18, which is Asia. But just like SUMIF, we also have to indicate the numbers that it will process. And that would be column F. And then close. So it's almost like a mirror function of SUMIF, except that instead of adding the numbers that satisfy the criteria or criterion, it will average those numbers instead. You don't get a sum, but rather an average. Now, later, in the lifetime of Google Sheets or Excel, it invented more functions And it realized that COUNTIF, SUMIF, and AVERAGEIF are actually quite limited. You can only accommodate one column of criteria. So what if I have two? So what if, for example, here, I want to find the total sales of Asia, but it has to be package B at the same time. So we have to have two conditions in order to be part of the summation. And SUMIF cannot do this because SUMIF can only accommodate one condition or one criterion. So if this is your case, then you have to use the function SUMIFS. SUMIFS allow for more criteria to be added to your condition. Another key difference of SUMIFS, aside from those, is that you have to identify the column of the sales first. I hope you remember that this column, the column of the numbers, was the last argument of SUMIF. But this time, since we have SUMIFS, the one with S, you have to call it first or identify it first. You just have to know, okay, you just have to remember that that's the rule of SUMIFS. There's really no major logic behind it. Now that you've identified the column of the numbers, then you proceed with identifying the column of the first criterion. So our first criterion here is Asia. So that would be column A. And then we identify Asia as its matching criterion. So column A must be Asia. But we're not yet done, so we're putting in a comma, and it's time for us to bring in the second range that we're going to check. So in this case, that would be column C. And we have to match it with that of J24's value. So we're done. We only have two conditions, and we've already entered them in the formula. So column F here serves as our sum range, okay, the numbers that we will add. And then we have two conditions. First, column A must be Asia, and column C must be package B, J24. You can have a lot of conditions. You can have up to 29 conditions. And then enter. Okay. And there you have it. We now have the sum of the values if it is Asia and package B. So just to show you that we got the right answer, so I'm going to filter out the Asia cells and then select only that of package B. And let's see what the sum of the sales would be. So as you could see here at the lower part, it says 2,726.43. So let's remember that number because we want to check now if that's the answer of our SUMIFS, 2726. So I'm going to select all. And there you have it. We got the right answer. It's 2,726.43. Okay. So we now have our SUMIFS, and if there is SUMIFS, again, of course, it also has the counterpart in AVERAGEIF, which is AVERAGEIFS. It's the same thing. You just have to make sure that you start with the numbers that you will average first, and then start putting in the values, okay, column first, and then the cell. Column, and then cell. That's how it works. All right. So I'll leave that for you to solve. If you got the answer, okay, the formula, you can put it in the comment section. And that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.